This Dog Skillathon lesson is about preventive care. This information is from the AKC book, The Complete Dog Book for Kids. Preventive care. This involves developing a plan with your veterinarian to prevent illnesses and diseases before they can occur. Most preventive care is related to parasites, but it also involves spaying or neutering your dog as part of your care plan. So what are parasites? These are creatures, visible or microscopic, that survive by feasting on another living animal. With dogs, these may be external, found on the outside of the dog, or internal, found within their internal organs, their heart, their intestines, and so on. So what are some of these external parasites? Fleas, ticks, mites, and even lice can affect your dog. And here's just a few examples of those. What are some of the internal parasites that are common to dogs and puppies? Many types of worms. Hookworms, roundworms, pinworms, tapeworms, whipworms, and heartworms. And you can see, and we'll talk a little bit about these in just a few moments. So how often should you worm a dog or a puppy? Your veterinarian can determine that for you. Dogs need only be treated when eggs show up in the stools. So if you think your dog is having some health issues, when you take it to the vet, they'll take a stool sample or a sample of their poop, and then they will check it for parasite eggs to see what may be going on with your dog. Puppies, on the other hand, need regular worming. As they are young and still growing, their immune system is not as built up as an adult animal, and so proper regular worming helps prevent any of these parasites. How are the typical worms spread? Well, you may live in an area that has a high infestation in the dirt. That's where a lot of these worms start, where the larvae or the eggs are in the dirt. And your neighbor's dog, or even your dog may shed eggs through their feces, and that your dog picks it up when they walk through the feces, and those eggs get on the pads of their feet. Your dog grooms himself, it licks its feet, and once it licks, then it ingests those parasite eggs. Let's look at the whipworm. The whipworm, the dog can contract by licking contaminated ground or by licking its paws after walking through infested ground. They affect the large intestine of the dog, but they are really hard to detect in a stool sample. So you'll notice more if your dog is not feeling well, or maybe its eating habits change, or its bathroom habits change. So this is another concern, that once you know your dog and its routine, you can kind of determine if it may have an infestation. This is the tapeworm, and it gets its name because it looks like a long piece of masking tape. They are usually ingested by having fleas. Fleas are one of the hosts for the tapeworm eggs. Because the tapeworm attaches into the intestines, the dog is not absorbing the food correctly, and so they are not getting the nutrition from the food. Tapeworms can cause your dog to lose weight, and it can also cause diarrhea. Hookworms, kind of scary looking, and rightfully so. They are found in your dog's digestive system. The larvae live within the soil, so once again, as dogs walk through, they can pick them up and ingest them. Once they are ingested, they go through and they attach to the intestinal wall, and they actually feed on the blood from the intestinal system. Hookworms could be determined from a stool sample. Roundworms are one of the most common internal parasites found in dogs and other animals, and they're a whole lot more common in puppies, and they're the most at risk for this. And so these are determined once again from a stool sample, and then you can provide some treatment. But how are heartworms different from the other worm parasites? Heartworms are spread by mosquitoes. And so from an infected mosquito, once they bite the dog, then it can transmit it there. The microscopic larvae then travel in the blood up to the heart, where they grow up to 12 inches long. So as long as a piece of paper, if that gives you an idea. As the worms grow, they clog the dog's heart and cause him to die a very painful death. That's the worst case scenario. Early detection, you may notice that your dog gets tired more, or it's not breathing as well, because we know those heart and lung systems are related. So anytime you notice your dog is not the same as it normally is after play or exercise, that may be cause for concern. The good news is Heartworm Preventive is available in tablets, liquid, or shots, and that you need to work with your veterinarian to determine what preventative is best for you. Here is the heartworm, and you can see that it's kind of the long worm spaghetti-like features of that, and this is an extreme case of where the heartworms closed up the entire heart. So why are external parasites dangerous? It seems like the internal ones are worse on your animal. Well, even external parasites can rob your dog of good health, kill him, or even you. Fleas can cause hair loss from intense scratching, and the scratching can cause skin infections from the open wounds from scratching so much. Some dogs have allergic reactions to fleas, and we've already discovered that fleas can be a vector for tapeworm eggs. Ticks can carry diseases such as Rocky Mountain spotted fever and Lyme disease, and other diseases that are not only harmful to your dog, they are also harmful for you. So what about lice, mites, and mange? Well, these are microscopic organisms that feed on your dog's skin, causing extreme itching and infection from the scratching. Lice live on the hair, and of course they cause an itching, and this is a different type of lice than what humans can get, or other animals. Ear mites are one version of mites that are found in the ear canals. But there's also demodectic mange, which is caused hair loss around the forehead, eyes, and muzzle and forepaws. And this is caused by the mite. Another mite that causes walking dandruff lives on a dog's neck, head, and back. So depending on where your dog may be over-grooming, scratching, determines what kind of mite may be on there. And mange is just a term for what the issue the mites cause. So how are these external parasites treated? Flea combs are good for an occasional flea on a regularly treated house pet. We know most flea preventatives are not 100%, but they do really cut down on the flea population. So it's good to have a flea comb, which is a small comb that has very closely spaced teeth on it. It's important that when you remove a tick, use rubber gloves. That can prevent you from being contaminated by the tick body fluid. Remember, the tick is feeding on the blood of your animal, and it may have already fed on another one, and we just don't want to risk any illness to yourself. Special body dips, which are preventative chemical put on your animal, are needed when it has mange and the mites. And your veterinarian can also provide treatment for ear mites, and you may notice that from excessive scratching of the ears or shaking. So fleas, we know, are very tiny. This, of course, is an enlarged picture of a flea, but you can tell a flea is just a little bit bigger than a millimeter. They have very powerful hind limbs, the legs that propel them for jumping. And yes, there is a difference between dog fleas and cat fleas. Ticks are quite common with ticks here in the South. This is just a great image to show you that a tick on average is smaller than a sesame seed. And sesame seeds are in a lot of buns and sandwiches that we eat. And that a tick grows, the more it feeds on your animal, on the blood of your dog, or even on you, it can become quite engorged and be quite large. So that's why it's important to always check yourself and your dogs and pets for ticks after being out on hikes and in the woods. And this is a drawing of a mite. A mite is kind of, they're microscopic, so it's hard to get a photo. Mites are more leaning towards being closer to a spider because they have multiple legs, but they cause the itchiness of the mange. There's different types of mites, like we said, the demodectic, and there's also sauroptic mites. Depending on what version you have is how it affects your animal. So you've been to the vet and they've offered you some preventive medicine. How do you give it to your dog? Well, I guess the joke would be good luck, right? You could try to put it in his food. Some dogs, there are pill pockets, little treats that you stick the pill in. If it's liquid, you may want to put it on their food or wrap it in cheese or something. But dogs are pretty smart. They're like us. They don't want to take their medicine. So if he won't eat it, you can open up the mouth by squeezing gently the upper lips against the teeth. And then when the dog's mouth opens, you can try to pop the pill or liquid to the back of the throat. You may want to get in the floor with your animal and have someone help you with this. One suggestion was to try to push it down, but be careful, especially if your dog is scared. It could bite you. So make sure you have an adult that helps you with that. Once you think you've got the pill in there, hold the mouth shut, gently blow onto your dog's face and nose, and stroke the throat area, and that will encourage your dog to swallow. But watch out, dogs and cats both are pretty smart. They'll swallow when you think they've got the pill down, and they really hide it in their upper lip, and then when next thing you notice, you find it on the ground, and the process starts over. So make sure that your dog actually swallows the pill. Another type of preventive care is making sure that we're responsible pet owners and have our dogs spayed or neutered. And so why should you have your female dog spayed? And spay is the correct term for what we call fixing the animal to where she cannot have puppies. And so with a female dog being spayed, she won't come into her heat cycle 2 to 3 times a year. And so that means you won't have to pin up the dog to keep unwanted male dogs from mating with your dog. Your dog's health won't be ruined by having puppies too soon in life or too often. It is quite a strain on your dog's body to go through the birth and having the puppies. And sometimes there is complications or problems that come up. And also spaying your dog helps to avoid common uterine infections and mammary cancers that may kill many dogs. And so it ensures a higher quality of life for your animal and a longer life for your animal if you spay them. So why should you have a male dog neutered? And neutering is the correct term for what we call fixing the male dog. It reduces male dogs' tendency to roam. Dogs have a behavior and an instinct that they are supposed to reproduce, and so a male dog will roam searching for his mate. And it lessens the aggressive tendencies as he matures. Mature dogs will fight over territories, and if the dog has neutered, it reduces some of those tendencies to be as aggressive. And just like in females, he will be less susceptible to prostate cancer or other cancers which kill many dogs in America. So by having your male dog neutered, once again you can ensure a higher quality of life for him and a longer life for your dog. So in conclusion, work with your veterinarian to develop a care plan for your dog. And preventive care can help your dog live a long, healthy life and ensure great times and fun memories to have for you and your family.